And welcome to the City Club of Eugene's April 17th, 2026 program, Democratic Primary Candidates for Congressional District 4. My name is Alyssa Gilbert, President of the City Club of Eugene, and it's my honor to welcome you to another of the many forums we've held since 1990 in the name of our mission to build community vision through open inquiry. City Club creates access to our local leaders and provides a platform for Eugene area community members to be heard. In light of the division we're experiencing in the world, I believe it's important, now more than ever, for us to gather as a community with curious minds and mutual respect. This space to listen, ask, learn, and gather is what City Club aims to provide to our community each week. We would love for you to browse our past programs at cityclubofelugene.org or our YouTube or Facebook. Please consider becoming a member if you'd like to support our rigorous volunteer work as Oregon's only city club that provides weekly forums. There are many ways to partner with us, and I'd like to thank our community sponsors. The University of Oregon has helped Oregonians question critically, think logically, reason effectively, communicate clearly, act creatively, and live ethically since 1876. Get more information at uoregon.edu. Lane Community College transforms lives through learning. LCC provides comprehensive, accessible, high-quality educational opportunities that promote student success. For more information, visit lanecc.edu. Thank you to Lane County for their generous support and to our web host, 9 Planets, whose website support is critical in our functioning, making it easy to sign up as a member or to learn more about us. A quick reminder to please silence all cell phones in the hall. And with that, I'll turn the mic over to the coordinator of today's program, Bobby O'Andrade.
Thanks, Alyssa, and thanks everyone for being here or listening to us on KLCC or YouTube. This year, Democrat voters in the 4th Congressional District of Oregon will choose between 3 candidates in their primary election on May 19th. The City Club of Eugene is proud to host a candidate forum for this important election. All 3 candidates have been invited to this forum, which will be moderated by KLCC reporter Rebecca Hansen-White. Candidate Daniel Ballen has a doctoral degree in behavioral health and a master's degree in clinical mental health counseling. His professional background includes work in tribal behavioral health and in manufacturing. Candidate Melissa Bird has a doctoral and master's degree in social work. She is self-employed, and her professional background includes working as faculty at several universities and serving as executive director for the Planned Parenthood Action Council of Utah. Candidate Val Hoyle has a bachelor's degree in political science and international studies. Her professional background includes serving as Oregon Commissioner of the Bureau of Labor and Industries, representing District 14th in the Oregon Legislature, and working as Policy Fellow at the Wayne Moore Center for Law and Politics at the University of Oregon. Val Hoyle is in Washington, D.C. today, attending a critical congressional session. The Congresswoman asked to join this forum virtually, but that could not be accommodated for this program. City Club agreed to have an opening statement from the Congresswoman, read by Lane County Commissioner Lori Trigger. With that, I welcome our moderator, Rebecca Hansen-White, and the candidates to the stage.
All right, I'm going to move this a little closer. Thank you so much, City Club, for joining us. And what we'll do before we have everyone sit down is I'm going to have everyone give their opening statements here at the podium. And we will start with Lori Trigger on behalf of Val Hoyle. Melissa Bird, I'd like you to go next. And then Dan Balin, we will have you third. Thank you so much. Or Ballin, I apologize.
You know, like all the rappers say, ballin'. All right.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Rebecca. Good afternoon, everyone at City Club. Lane County Commissioner Lori Trigger here today to read a statement for all of you written by your Congresswoman Val Hoyle, who's not able to be here. She's in D.C. performing her congressional duties, casting votes. That said, for me personally, it's an absolute honor and privilege to serve as her voice today. I stand in good company of elected progressive leaders endorsing her, including Senators Merkley and Wyden, former Representative Congressman Peter DeFazio, as well as her current Progressive Caucus colleagues, Representatives Premila Jayapal, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and Senator Bernie Sanders. Val Hoyle is one of the most courageous, hardworking, honest people I know, and I'm so proud to call her a colleague and a friend and my Congresswoman. And now, words from Val Hoyle. And in advance, thank you, City Club, for allowing this opening statement a few extra minutes than the other openers, as it's the only opportunity for voters to hear from the Congresswoman in this forum. Val Hoyle's words. Greetings to everyone here today at the City Club and to those listening on KLCC. I regret I can't be with you in person. I am in Washington, D.C., voting on critical issues like taking back congressional authority to end Donald Trump's and Benjamin Netanyahu's immoral, illegal war in Iran, opposing the expansion of mass government surveillance, extending lawful protections for Haitian immigrants, and trying to convince my Republican colleagues to vote to fund TSA, FEMA, and the critical parts of DHS with not one more cent going to ICE or CBP. Many of you already know me, as my husband and I made our careers and raised our children in West Eugene. Long before I ever thought of running for office, I spent time working to make this community better. Whether coaching at kids' sports, advocating for better schools with the PTO, working to expand healthcare access with the United Way of Lane County, fighting for the expansion of reproductive health access with Planned Parenthood, or working with the Democrat Party of Lane County to support and elect Democrats to every level of government, I've shown up to do the work to make our community better for more than 25 years. I first ran for office to fight for better access to quality public schools and served as state representative for West Eugene and Junction City. As the majority leader of the Oregon House, I worked to pass gun safety legislation, raise the minimum wage, expand sick leave, and protect seniors from financial abuse, and many other policies and investments that made a difference in the lives of everyday working people. As your Oregon Labor Commissioner, I was able to garner record-setting legislative investments in the agency's workforce and technology and work to crack down on wage theft, strengthen protections against discrimination, expand registered apprenticeships, and make sure workers got the pay and benefits they'd earned. And now in Congress, I continue that work by supporting career pathways to good-paying jobs through apprenticeship and training programs. Through it all, my priorities have stayed the same: to fight for working people, protect our rights, deliver for our communities, stand up for Oregon values. Every day that I'm here, I know that as your congressional representative, I need to use my voice to work for the people who don't ordinarily have a seat at the table, people who grew up like I did. I'm proud to have earned a reputation as someone who does the work, but in a body of 435 members, 535 if you count the Senate, no one person alone makes policy happen or drives major changes. The real work is in building the kinds of coalitions that can get things done. My reputation is one of being extremely effective and strategic, as opposed to someone who seeks the spotlight, and that suits me fine. Even now, in a divided Congress, I've been able to secure more than $31 million for projects across our district and worked with federal agencies to return more than $7 million in earned benefits to constituents who were owed that money by the federal government. That's money directly into the pockets of your neighbors to help them meet their daily needs and care for themselves and their families. You can measure my priorities by what I'm fighting for. My first bill in Congress was working alongside Senator Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren to preserve and expand Social Security, because it's not right that Elon Musk pays the same amount into Social Security as a nurse or a firefighter. The wealthiest people in America should pay their fair share. I'm working with Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez to fight corporate consolidation of healthcare by introducing the Patients Over Profits Act. I'm working with Representative Premila Jayapal supporting Medicare for All. And as one of the highest-ranking Democrats on the Natural Resources Committee, I'm leading the fight to defend against attacks on protections for clean air, clean water, and public lands, and working with our tribal nations. And finally, I will never stop fighting for our democracy. That means taking on corruption, including banning members of Congress from stock trading, overturning Citizens United, and closing loopholes that benefit special interests and billionaires who buy our elections. November is one of the most consequential elections of our lifetime, so we have to ensure that every vote is counted. I'm committed to continuing to fight for free and fair elections by voting against blatant voter suppression bills like the Anti-Democratic SAVE Act and planning ahead. Senator Wyden and I have introduced legislation to protect vote by mail and expand it nationally to make sure every vote is counted. All eligible voters deserve to have access to the ballot. I'd be honored to have your continued support, as well as to be able to continue to represent you in Congress. Yours in service, Congresswoman Val Hoyle. Thank you.
All right, I'd like to invite our next candidate, Melissa Byrd, to the podium.
Hi, everyone. My name is Dr. Melissa Bird. I am a descendant of the Shivwitz Band of Paiutes, and I live in Corvallis. I am a working mom of 3 kids, wife of a disabled veteran, and a social worker. I'm running for Congress because the system as it is doesn't work for me, it doesn't work for you, and it doesn't work for Oregon. We keep voting for the lesser of 2 evils and holding our noses because the other guy is way worse. We need representation that doesn't wait for something bad to happen and instead comes out of the gate fighting for the better life that we all deserve. We need representation that fights for what folks need instead of focusing on projects like the Coos Bay Port expansion. I'm running for office because I'm angry that our representation seems caught by surprise every time the fascists do the terrible things they laid out in Project 2025 and 26. I'm angry that our representation criticizes Citizens United and then takes money from corporations. We need people in leadership who know what it is like to be raising a family in this economy, who are directly impacted by the decisions Congress is making, and we need fighters who are willing to say the word genocide in public. I didn't come to this race unprepared. I have a master's degree and PhD in social work and nearly 3 decades of experience in policy advocacy and community organizing. The people in this district deserve a congresswoman who is not using power and privilege for financial gain while everyone else is struggling. The incumbent in this race has violated the Stock Act more than 200 times and has taken huge amounts of money from the pro-Israel lobby. We cannot rely on the people who got us here to get us out of here. Voters in Oregon are tired of the status quo, the strongly worded statements, the non-response to an authoritarian dictator. I do not want representation that waits for the DNC talking points. I've spent my career fighting for people who the system wasn't built for. I'm a Native woman, a mother, a small business owner, and I'm done asking politely. I'm running for more. I'm running for you, for your family, for our communities, and our futures. We need fighters to end the system that keeps food, housing, and health care out of reach for many. We need to bury the system that tried to destroy my people and profited off their suffering. We need to imagine and create a system that puts an end to our neighbors having to ration their prescriptions and that doesn't force parents to skip meals so they can feed their kids. We need fighters and visionaries to create a future that works for us all. My name is Dr. Melissa Bird. I am that fighter, and I'm running to be your next Congresswoman. I look forward to earning your vote.
And Mr. Ballin, if you could take the podium.
Hi. While Val Hoyle was House Majority Leader here in Oregon, there was sexual harassment under her leadership, and she failed to stop it. The cost, $1.1 million. As Labor Commissioner, it was a racist workplace that she ran, and the cost to us, $2.1 million. Val Hoyle's leadership fuels toxicity and a dysfunction. Does that sound familiar to you? The poor are getting poorer. The rich are getting richer. As Congresswoman, who is costing us millions of dollars, while cost of living is unbelievably high, and it ain't stopping. 6 months ago, Val Hoyle paid a $200 fine for violating the Stock Act. Val failed to meet federal deadlines for reporting 217 individual stock transactions made in her husband's account. Combined value of these trades is estimated to be up to $3 million, the same that taxpayers, Oregon families had to pay out for her leadership. 217 stock transactions. I'm from Geronimo's people. Geronimo passed away 217 after 23 years of captivity. Longest held prisoner of war is my Apache people. Hoyle paid a $200 fine for that, while my fellow homeless out here, and I'm homeless with them, and I'm Dr. Dan Ballin, we make up a great majority of the homeless Native Americans, are fined, we were fined $200 a night because we have no place to go. 35 homeless just in Lane County. Per capita rate so high, we all should be blushing. In 1 year after Val Hoyle won her election, the homeless grew by 500 people here. And what's done? Obviously nothing. Nothing real, nothing tangible, nothing sustainable. We're talking about the future of everyone's child. I guess Oh, I'm out 2 minutes. I mean, I think I'll stick it right there. I don't want to go over like everybody else.
And thank you to both of our candidates who are here today for speaking to those issues. And now we'll get started to the questions. I'm your moderator, Rebecca Hanson-White. And our first question, we're going to talk about cost of living. Many people in this district are struggling with a rising cost of living. Some of these factors driving that cost can be traced back to current federal policy, tariffs, the Iran war, and lack of antitrust enforcement. When you think about the levers that Congress has available to them, what policies would you support if you were elected that might address these affordability concerns? And we're going to start with Melissa Byrd.
One of the reasons that I am running for Congress is because our family is directly impacted by what is happening in the economy. My husband's job was rescinded by order of the president last year, and it threw our family into a financial tailspin. One of the measures that I've been talking about since I started teaching social work students about poverty is increasing the federal poverty level, which has not been raised since 1978 for inflation and cost of living. And so that is one measure that could definitely help our families who are experiencing poverty and other issues. One of the other things that I have been thinking greatly about is raising the minimum wage. So raising the minimum wage is one thing, but raising it so it's actually a livable wage is another. And we need to be fighting to make sure that people can actually make $25 an hour throughout this country, because that is what we are facing as families. Also, we need to make sure that families are not paying for the data centers that are being built here in Oregon. So increasing our utilities to cover the cost of data centers should not fall on the backs of regular working people. And we also need to look at how we are looking at housing across the board throughout this district. No longer is the quote-unquote American dream about purchasing a home. It is about making sure that we are housing our homeless and making sure that we are creating housing solutions across the board that are relevant to our rural areas as well as our urban areas throughout the district by using formats such as the Rural New Deal and other frameworks that we can use to actually make sure that we are housing people in an equitable way.
All right, and just a reminder, candidates have 2 minutes to answer questions, which you did, sorry.
Is this on?
Yes, it is.
Well, to start with, all this economic instability, it's a worldwide thing. One nation crashes, we all crash. So on my platform, I have 3 key initiatives. The first one is establishing a new world order at Megiddo. I will champion the creation of a global governance framework headquartered at Megiddo, Israel, drawing from its historical significance as the site of ancient battles and its symbolic importance in eschatological traditions. This initiative will foster international cooperation on climate change, economic stability, and security challenges while respecting national sovereignty. Our families, we waste so much money as families to do anything for 1 minute, for 1 second in our lives. We don't even have time to research candidates or anything about them. We just work and work and work till we bleed, our bodies break. And then the same corrupt people, the same people of money and power keep running things and things get worse, like Val Hoyle. So I propose moving Thanksgiving week to election week to strengthen our democratic process. I propose legislation to permanently move the Thanksgiving holiday to coincide with election week. This change will increase voter participation by giving more Americans time to vote without work conflicts while preserving the spirit of gratitude and family gatherings that define Thanksgiving.
Yeah, sorry. My next question, a lot of people, and Daniel, take this next one first. A lot of people across the 4th District are struggling to access health care. We've had changes and cutbacks in hospitals, corporate consolidation that's led to many providers leaving, and now Medicaid cuts that could leave many with no insurance. If you're elected to Congress, what policies would you support that ensure your constituents have access to health care that they can afford?
Look, the healthcare system sucks. I don't know. We're all wrapped up into it like we're brainwashed. The care is just horrible. There's like, what, like 20 of the top lobbying firms have been in Washington, D.C. for how long, and this is the state of it? Do you want more free of that? Something has to change if we're going to get anything for free in healthcare. And you talk about access. I'm homeless. All my brothers and sisters out here are homeless, a lot of us. And I advocate the one thing for us to access is bathrooms. I advocate expanding bathroom access for transient individuals. I will advocate for federal funding to increase public restroom facilities in transportation hubs, urban centers, and along highways. These accessible, gender-neutral facilities will serve transient individuals, including travelers, homeless individuals, and transgender people who face discrimination in traditional restroom spaces. I'm committed to the human dignity for all people.
We must pass universal health care. Sorry, I almost forgot about this. This healthcare system is what happens when we let money dictate healthcare. Healthcare is a basic human right, and we have to have people in Congress who are fighting for that basic human right. Consolidation is driven by increased market power, not improving the health and well-being of communities and peoples. And having someone like me in Congress means that I will be putting people first because of my training as a social worker. I have advocated in the healthcare advocacy field, and I worked on the ACA, but that was just a step. That is not the final bargain that we have in this country. Oregonians have been clear that they want universal health care, and we need to have people in Congress who are not just going to nibble at a system that doesn't fundamentally work. Oregon is set to make history with plans in the Universal Health Plan Governance Board. The nation should be taking the lead and doing the same thing. Healthcare is not a budget line, it is a lifeline, and we have to be doing everything that we can do to make sure that we are taking care of our veterans, our elders, our folks with disabilities, and our young people. Medicaid is a major funding source for public schools, which means it's really impacting students with disabilities and low-income students. The attacks on Medicaid and SNAP are directly related to our education system here in this country. And if we want to be creating an education system that works for our young people, we have to be clear about how these Medicaid cuts are impacting our kids in our schools.
Ms. Bird, you'll be taking this next question first. Housing in Western Oregon is unaffordable for a big swath of our population. There's a lot of people stuck renting and not able to buy, people who are housing insecure and unhoused, and people living in homes that don't work for them, but they don't have the means to transition. If you're elected to Congress, what policies might you support that would address our housing challenges?
So one of the first things that I have committed to as a part of this campaign is using the Rural New Deal and working with the Rural Organizing Project to think about, and the Rural Urban Bridge Initiative, to think about how we are addressing the housing needs in the rural parts of this district. I understand that that might not be something that is of issue to you in Eugene necessarily, but what we are understanding from traveling this district from county to county is the housing experiences that we are having in our cities of Corvallis and Eugene are directly related to the housing issues that we are having in the rural areas of this district. So we need to be coming up with housing options that work for each community. And we have got to stop buying into the mythology that everybody wants to purchase a home. We don't live in that world anymore in this country. Personally, we have been renting in the same place for almost 10 years, and our rent just went up again, and we are trying to decide whether or not we can afford to stay there. Corvallis is the second most rent-burdened city per capita in the United States. Eugene clearly has a problem with housing affordability, and the method by which we approach housing has to be a multi-pronged method that isn't all about getting people purchasing homes. We have to be thinking about how we are reusing buildings, how are we restructuring the rules around housing and urban development, how are we looking at policies that actually take into account the livability and affordability of people who are homeless. We have to be protecting all of our communities by making sure that we are creating safe and healthy spaces for people to live that include restrooms, and that include looking at how we are actually advocating for people while we are in Congress, not just pushing and pushing and pushing away the problem of houselessness and homelessness and poverty. We have to create a reuse of the buildings that we already have and figure out how to bring people into housing.
All right, look, is this on? You hear me? You hear me? All right, the poor, the homeless, they have no lobby, no representation. I am their representation. This is a domestic holy war going on, and I am the representation. And I want to be your representation because you are the Antichrist to the established Christianity in Washington, D.C. That's what you are. That's what anybody who stands for you will be. I'm telling you. Therefore, I am the Antichrist. And this domestic holy war, it has been this way since 1849. The Indian officially categorized as a domestic problem that was handled through systematic massacres. California genocide, Sand Creek massacre, Wounded Knee massacre, countless others, was catastrophic at levels that dwarfs the casualties of specific modern conflicts today. Indian sounds like Iranian. Those people, their history, they have a shared history. The Indians and the Iranians. According to Federal Code 25, I am titled an Indian. And the majority of the 574 Indian tribes have Indian in their name. It's like the N-word to me. And I might as well be a black candidate because the 1924 Racial Integrity Act classified Native Americans as black until 1967. So, that said, I want to claim back from Trump's bikers, the Aryan Brotherhood, the prison gang that he thinks is going to defend him. I claim back the word Aryan for the Iranians. And I claim the number 666 they carry for me, myself. That's my number. That's who I am.
All right. For our next question, Daniel, take this one first. During the Trump administration, we've seen a lot of policies that are designed to protect the environment and human health from pollution rolled back or less aggressively enforced. If you're elected, what policy work might you do in Congress to address the impacts of climate change?
Look, I already said establishing a new global government in Megiddo. I mean, this has to be an international thing we all do together. And the time is now. The time is here. There are 3 kings in the world whose suffix is 6. King Mohammed, he's king of Morocco. He's 6. King Felipe of Spain, he's a 6th. King of Tonga in the islands near Australia, he's a 6th. The time is now. Look, I'm going to 86-47. That's my main thing. We got to do this 86-47, and this is a holy thing because those numbers are in my numbers. In 1986, I was baptized at 8 years old. That is 57-47 on the Hebrew calendar. 86-47 right there. This year is 57-86 on the Hebrew calendar. And I was 47. Today's my birthday, April 17th. I was 47, 86-47 again. Look, it's 1 in 50 chance that 86-47 Celsius or Fahrenheit is 47-86 Celsius or Fahrenheit. That means the temperature in this world is rising politically, and the earth is rising in temperature. It means we got to do something about it. And this president, well, we need 86-47. I got a lot of numbers. I have so many numbers of synchronicity that it's called impossible. I was going to contact Terrence Tao, the smartest man in the world with mathematics, to do something with these numbers. But I have so many numbers of synchronicity that's virtually impossible to beat.
Melissa, do you want me to read the question again? During the Trump administration, we've seen a lot of the policies that are designed to protect the environment and human health from pollution rolled back or less aggressively enforced. If you're elected, what policy work might you do in Congress to address the impacts of climate change?
So I've really been thinking a lot about the environment and climate change, particularly as I've been having conversations with young people throughout the district. One of the things that I was really concerned about, of course, was the opening up of BLM to clear cutting and old growth forestry here in Oregon. We've already learned that lesson the hard way as Oregonians about what happens when we clear cut our forests. I was disappointed that the incumbent supported the Fix Our Forests Act, saying that we needed to also work with the timber industry. Well, the small and mid-sized timber industry in this district is really worried about us clear cutting our forests and doing old growth logging, because they know that trees don't come back in 20 years and that they will be put out of business. And so we need to be thinking about how we are protecting our forests, our watershed, our animals, our land, and be thinking about creating policies that make sure that we are engaging in regenerative and sustainable industry as well as regenerative and sustainable work. I have been working with the Northwest Native Chamber of Commerce to talk about how we are engaging in regenerative and sustainable agriculture. What we know about monoculture farming and monoculture forestry is that it doesn't work. And in fact, it's really bad for the land and the planet. And so we need to have people in Congress that are willing to push policies that will actually address climate change while we are protecting our land and our national parks and protecting our spaces so that we can continue to create a thriving forest district. One of the things that I have been talking about repeatedly is that without our forests, without our land, without our coast, our tourist industry goes in the tank. And that means our rural economies suffer. And so we have to be looking at environmental policy from an intersectional space where we are bringing in tribes, we are bringing in conservation, and we are bringing in industry so that we can actually create a model of conservation that works for Oregonians.
And you'll take this next question first. In the last year and a half, one of the things we've heard many times, the president creates an executive order bypassing Congress, and it ends up in the courts. If voters send you to Congress, how might you, as an individual representative and as a member of a body, work to enforce your constitutional authority and be an aggressive part of the system of checks and balances?
So I am part of a group of people throughout the country called the Courage Candidates, and all of us have committed to impeaching not just the president, but the entire administration for tyranny, treason, and obstruction of justice. We have committed to doing that as a body, as a whole. It's a pretty cool group of people, honestly. Congress has the power of oversight, and we need to call members of the cabinet to testify before Congress, which is not being done. We also need to be thinking about bringing back the war powers under congressional purview. No one president, regardless of party, should have carte blanche, unchecked authority to make war or engage in military action without the permission of Congress. There was a war powers resolution that just failed yesterday. Congress has to change because the body of Congress will not fix itself for our people if we continue to elect people into office who are being bought and sold by the very lobbyists who are controlling our government right now. The 1973 War Powers Resolution is intended to restrict action and not give presidents a 60-day grace period for military force. We must call back war powers. And finally, Congress has the power of the purse. The legislative branch controls appropriations. All spending originates in the House of Representatives. This is a core responsibility for accountability that is not being held to standard. We need to elect.
Look, how successful has the party been going on and on like this? Look, You went on and on with words, and what, 2 impeachments, and nothing happened. And you expect to do that again, on and on and on with your words? You won't succeed at all. I will succeed, and I'll do it myself. I'll be made Speaker of the House, I'll remove Vance and Trump, and I'll become your next president. Look, Donald Trump, he has 4 options from me. Number 1, he can fight me tooth and nail and face maximum penalty. Number 2, we can have a private powwow with a couple dancers, some drinks, and work something out, as long as he throws a lot of people under the bus with him. Number 3, we can go forward with his term and do the best thing we can for American families. Number 4, or we can move forward and be chaotic dysfunction the rest of his term, like it has been. There you go.
And Daniel, take this next question first. There are a lot of people in this district that are really afraid right now of being swept up by immigration enforcement themselves or being separated from a loved one. Do you think ICE needs to be abolished or reformed? And how should we be doing immigration enforcement?
Look, I don't want to answer any questions about ICE right now. It's too emotional, you know. I'm an Indian. My Indian people are traumatized. We're getting swept up in this. I've seen it on TV. It's horrible. It's horrendous. I mean, that's just one thing. But moving forward with 8647, I can't give away any details, but you all heard what she talked about. I don't know, all those words, you know, tyranny or whatnot that nobody really talks about nowhere else. Those things, look, moving forward, it has to be careful on what we say and how we say it in order to get this done to 8647, period.
Yep, Melissa?
Last week, I took a public pledge to abolish ICE. ICE is a 500-year-old problem wearing a different uniform. We used to call it the United States Army. Now we call it ICE. ICE has been targeting brown people regardless of who they are or where they live. And I have personally been in our communities in Waldport and Newport and here in Eugene fighting and protesting ICE. I believe that we need to create an immigration system that actually works and doesn't take 30 years. That's simple, it's easy to do, and it will save taxpayer dollars in the long run. So while we are abolishing ICE, we also need to be creating an immigration system that is actually workable. One of the things that, since I started running for Congress, has come to my attention, and I knew it, but it's really starting to make itself more well known to me, is that people are fighting in our armed services without citizenship. So we are sending people to war for this country while they are caught in the quagmire of immigration trying to get their citizenship. And in some places, our immigrants make up a great deal of our armed forces. And we need to be abolishing ICE while we are creating a system of integration that actually is humane and works for the people.
And Melissa, you'll take this next one first. Our education institutions are struggling on every level. In K through 12, we have a lot of districts laying off teachers and cutting programs that really help kids. In higher education, many of our universities and community colleges have already done layoffs or will soon do it and have had to cut research funding or had their research funding cut. If you're elected to Congress, how might you work to preserve access to education?
I don't think it's just about preserving access to education. It's about restoring the funding that was cut by this administration. When DOGE came in and did these sweeping reforms throughout our government, and when the administration was allowed to cut our Department of Education to the bone, the uprising, the upswell, didn't happen. And I have been watching our school boards throughout this district struggle with what they're going to do now that the state has also had to cut funding for our education system. The way we have been funding education in this country hasn't worked for decades. But what we really need to do is be thinking about how we are not going to just restore the funding to our public education system, but increase the funding so our teachers can actually do their jobs in their classrooms while we are supporting local school districts as well as states so that states can also increase revenue so that they can help support our education system. There's no question our education system has been broken for decades. We need to figure out not just how to adequately fund it, but to fund it to the level that is required in the year 2026. We should not be funding education at levels from the 80s and 90s. That's not how this works. And because there hasn't been a balanced budget since 2001, we don't even know what those levels look like because we haven't evaluated a lot of these programs for inflation and cost of living. And that's why we have so many problems with how we fund the federal government.
Look. Funding. We're going into debt, what, 37 trillion? More and more, trillions and trillions? We need something radically different. We need to reform education. What we're doing is a waste. I don't know, do grades 1 through 9 and then prepare them 16, 18 for something else. Do something. Minimize the things, compact it, make it comprehensive. I don't know. But I don't know where you guys are at with what's happening in the world, but we're on the horizon of Armageddon. Truly, seriously, if you know the scriptures, if you see what's going on, if you know Ezekiel 38, 39, if you know Revelation, it's happening right now, and we need to prepare the children for it. Look, they're going to suffer for the accumulation of our stupidity, our sins, because we get so stuck in I don't know what place, but we are. And they're going to suffer. And we need to reform things to prepare them for Armageddon. This is the truth.
All right, Daniel, take this next question first. The United States has supported Israel's actions in Palestine across a few administrations. In recent years, we've also seen U.S. military action elsewhere in the Middle East, most recently in Iran, without congressional authorization. If you're elected, what congressional oversight would you support to address these military actions?
Congressional oversight. Look, I already said it. 8647, we're done. Establish the new global government to have more authority, more teeth than this UN. Move the UN from the Indian land in New York. It's on stolen Indian land, and the international community is on top of it. They need to move that up to the Lenape tribe's land and move it to Megiddo. And we need to establish that land in New York as a place where Indian tribes can gather and form a new United Indian government to stand up for themselves. Look, I'm in some sort of limbo, some legal limbo as a candidate. If I get elected, they could challenge if I'm a citizen. Everything they've done to the Indians, sweeping us up, saying we're this or that, without really no place to be. Am I really a citizen? We never agreed or even were talked to about the 1924 Indian citizenship. It's ridiculous how the laws are created, and they stand on the doctrine of discovery, which the Pope is part of. He sits in the chair of who established that, the Pope in Rome. More needs to be done. More needs to be done regarding all this.
What is happening in the Middle East is a genocide. There can be absolutely no peace and security without the protection of human rights. I believe that applies everywhere, including Palestine, Iran, and Lebanon. I have thought about this tirelessly since one of my children is turning 18 and he could be facing the draft. I live with a disabled veteran who has fought in 2 wars in Kosovo and Iraq. We have got to, Congress as a body has got to take back its power to make war. It is the fundamental issue at stake when it comes to these international skirmishes that we are getting in, these war actions that we are getting in. I will not vote for any aid that enables the killing of people across this world. I will not vote for any further weapons to Israel. I will adamantly speak out about the genocide that is happening in the Middle East and the colonization that is taking place at the hands of Israel. We cannot continue funding a nation that is committing genocide unilaterally with the permission of the President of the United States of America. We are in a constitutional crisis if Congress does not take back the War Powers Act. This is not 1973. This is 2026, and we are indeed, to use some of your words, Daniel, on the verge of Armageddon. And we are funding nations that are willing to kill women and children and elders. I think that we have to take human rights as the foundational consideration when Congress is looking at how we are dealing with invasions of Venezuela, of Greenland, of the Middle East. And we have got to, the Democratic Party needs to unify around the notion and the idea that we will no longer fund these international wars.
Congresspeople, and Melissa, you'll take this next question first. Congresspeople need to be well-rounded, but most have special interests that they're more passionate about or type of legislation they're more focused on. If you're elected to Congress, what policy areas would be your top priorities?
I think that the fundamental story of where we are at in 2026 as a nation is the story of how we are treating our workers, our families, our elders, and our young people. And as a social worker who used to teach social workers social justice advocacy and policy, it is my hope as a Congress member to be engaged in making sure that we aren't just protecting the social safety net, but that we are actually making the social safety net more robust for people. We have got to change the FPL, the federal poverty level. We have got to start taxing corporations and billionaires so that the answer to our tax problems is not to continue to cut and cut and cut our veteran services, our Social Security, our Medicaid and Medicare, our education system. It seems to me that if we elect more folks into Congress who are more concerned about their voters than they are their corporate donors, we actually might be able to refocus some of our energy on making sure that the policies that we are looking at in Congress and passing in Congress don't have to do with $1 trillion budget for the Department of Defense, which, by the way, has never passed an audit. We have to shift funding priorities as a congressional body away from war and death and inhumanity, more towards building up our communities, our infrastructure, our forests, our waterways, and the people who live here in Congressional District 4. And that will be my priority.
Look, every election, people say a lot of things, and what? Like, less than a third of it gets done? And right now, probably even less. Look, right now, we need a revolution in this country. We need unity between Republicans, Democrats, liberals, conservatives, all of us. We're going to fail. We're going to fail what we're doing in the world and here. And it's going to be ugly, real ugly. My Apache number is 52. There are 52 weeks in a year. That's a revolution of the earth around the sun. My Apache dad, he was born in 52. His Apache grandfather passed away in 52. My only Apache brother is Jeremiah. The book of Jeremiah has 52 chapters. I did my doctorate degree at my hospital on the reservation. My doctorate data was 5 and 2. I'm telling you, I have these numbers of synchronicity that are unbelievable. We need radical change. Well, they call it radical, but it's a revolution. It's about unity. And Val Hoyle and my opponents here, even here, are just the second coming of the same old Calvary. In fact, Calvary has Val in it. Calvary. In the middle of it is V-A-L. While I'm in a holy war against the powers that be and their form of Christianity, and I'm about Calvary. The Calvary and the cross, with the L-B in the middle, for love. Because Jesus Christ died on the cross for our sins. He was in the earth for 3 days, was resurrected to life by God the Father. That is where we're at. All right.
And you'll take this next question first, Daniel. When people vote for a candidate, people elect you for your policy positions and your qualifications, but another important lens you carry with you is your lived experience. Is there a lived experience you've had that informs how you view politics and how you would do this job if voters send you to Congress?
Dear Lord, my experience, it's an Indian story. We don't know who we are. It was like a bomb went off in this country, and we got scattered, and when we try to find each other, figure it out, nobody has a clue, because there's been just nothing about lies, and everybody's been focused on the things they're focused on every election. How many people represent us? Representation. Hardly anyone. I mean, who passed away recently? Night Horse, the senator from Colorado. He established kind of the groundwork for us to follow, and not much has happened. I mean, we barely have we have no representation in Congress. Something radical, a revolution needs to happen. You know, I've faced this my whole life. It's highly traumatizing. I was home, I went to foster care as a kid after taken from my tribe. I was on the streets for years, homeless, gangs and all that crap on the streets. And then I went to college for years and years and years. Went to go help my tribe. Worked full-time, professional job, working for the Department of Health and Human Services. 7 years, doing my master's degree, getting into my doctorate. And I had to face corruption, fraud, abuse of employees by someone who's not even from my tribe, supported by the corruption in my tribe. And I was a federal whistleblower in that case. And I was retaliated against, and nothing's done about it. So I had to face poverty. I had to, everything that whistleblower faces, look it up, all the consequences of it. It happens to us. And this is where I'm at right now. So with that strength, I can go forward and face any threat, any challenge we have, including this president and the administration and the GOP, which I'm coming after.
I'm thinking of a story. I grew up in Utah, but I'm okay. No, just kidding. No offense to Utah. It's a beautiful state. When I was 6 years old, my dad committed suicide. And we had been part of the LDS church before that. And my mother was asked to leave the church. And, our family really fell apart. And so my life has been built on empathy and compassion and being scrappy and trying to survive in a world that doesn't really want me around. And I was actually at a meet and greet last night in Corvallis, and people were asking me about who I am and how comfortable I'm going to be in spaces where, people don't really want to listen to the words that I have to say. And I very lovingly and jokingly said, I grew up as a non-Mormon, bisexual, Native American feminist in Utah, so I think I'm going to be okay. I have spent my life advocating for people who did not have a voice. I have spent my life advocating for myself and my friends and the people that I hold dear. I believe that when we approach people from where they're at, not where we want them to be, we can make change, because I've done it and I've seen it happen. And so I hope to approach this position from that same place of compassion, graceful revolution, and also persistence. I can be really scrappy when I have to be, and I'm not afraid to say the quiet words out loud. And I think that's what we need, not just on the floors and the halls of Congress, but in the federal government as a whole. We need people who are willing to take risk, because at the end of the day, there's nothing else left.
And you'll take this next question first. Our conversation today is not necessarily about the race as a whole. Right now we're in a Democratic primary. Can you walk us through why should Democratic voters choose you as their candidate over other candidates in this race?
Yeah, I think that what I am hearing over and over and over again as I have traveled throughout this district is that people want something to vote for, not something to vote against. And people are telling me that I represent that for. I am not a career politician, even though I have a lot of political experience. I am not wealthy. I jokingly say that I will not violate the Stock Act because I have no stocks to my name. I want your vote because I want to work with you. I want to know your stories, I want to know your issues, and I want to create policy that allows us to actually advocate for the people in the 4th Congressional District. This isn't just about bringing tens of millions of dollars in from the federal government to work on projects. This is actually about creating proactive legislation that does something for the health and welfare of our communities and doesn't just do something for corporations and big business. So I want to work with all of you to see how we can actually impact the 4th District. One of the things that's happened since we started this campaign is every time someone tells us about an issue or something that they find important from a policy perspective, we keep a list of it. And since my campaign manager and I love writing legislation more than anything in the world, it's sort of weird, we are keeping a running list of the bills that we want to introduce the minute we get into Congress, and they are all bills that are created by you, the voter. They are issues that are created by you, the voter. They are not bills that are brought to me by some fancy lobbyist who wants me to do something to scratch their back, so I'll scratch theirs. I want to do proactive legislating that actually comes from the 4th Congressional District, and that is what I hope to do.
Look, this is the last question I'm going to answer, then I have to go. I got some homeless people to go tell about some stuff about what happened here. But, you know, I need college people out there. I need you all to vote. I need you all to vote. Vote for me. Colored, all y'all that ain't even participating. You got to break past this old guard here, this old Democrat guard here, because it's failing. It's failing everybody. Look, this is the hard part about being Democrat Party. I ran as a Libertarian in 2024, and Val showed her colors. I was getting my doctorate, running a congressional campaign by myself with no money in 2024. And that was unprecedented. Nobody cared in this community. And y'all want to say y'all progressive, liberal, Democrat, and you care about the marginalized? I was excluded even from Eugene Weekly. I mean, come on. I'm serious about this. This is sick across the country. So I'm running the Lord's campaign. This is the Lord's campaign. I'm running on $0. And if you want to do your Pac-Man packs and do a commercial, do advertising for me, I welcome everyone out there to do it. Thank you.
That's all the questions we have, but it is time to go to closing statements. You can do a closing statement if you would like. Okay. Melissa, I'll invite you in just a sec to the podium to make a closing statement. Thank you so much to Dr. Ball and to Melissa. Thank you to Lori Trieger, if she's still in the audience, for giving a statement on behalf of Val Hoyle. We'll have Melissa give her closing statement, and then we'll hear from City Club again. Thank you so much.
Democratic primary voters in CD4 have a real choice here. You have the opportunity to vote for someone who has spent nearly 3 decades fighting from the outside for the people the system failed. I am here to provide a fresh perspective in Congress. I am not wealthy. I am not a career politician. History is written each day and defined by our decisions. There has never been a more important time than right now to elect leaders that are willing to fight for a better life for all of us. The way we get to great is not by begging the system that got us here for salvation. The way we get to great is not by asking the most successful winners of the system to change it. I am running for Congress not to beg for a seat at the table, but to flip it. The way we make sure our kids have good schools, our families have enough food on the table, that we have good jobs and a healthy planet is by electing bold and transformational leaders like me who understand what it's like to live in this current reality. My name is Dr. Melissa Bird, and I am one of those leaders, one of the leaders that has lived alongside you in a system that has been content on leaving the working class behind, on leaving veterans behind, on leaving our disabled loved ones behind. In 2026, America should not be a country that provides champagne to a few and table scraps to the rest. America should not be a country that profits off the backs of the working class at the cost of all of our futures to support just a few of the most wealthy. I am running for Congress because we deserve visionary leaders who are empowered and emboldened by their hard work and grit. Leaders who aren't reactionary. The people in 4th Congressional District need a champion, and I am that champion. Anyone who has worked to better themselves and is tired of hearing the same old trope of pulling ourselves up by our bootstraps knows that not everyone plays the game by the same rules, and some rules have always been rigged against us, against you and against me. I don't apologize for being bold. This is a primary. You want a fighter? I am one. My name is Dr. Melissa Bird, and I ask for your vote on May 19th.
That's all the time we have for today. Please join me in thanking Daniel Ballin and Melissa Bird. This has been our April 17th, 2026 conversation at the City Club of Eugene. We'll be back next week here at Wow Hall in downtown Eugene on Friday, April 24th at noon. That program will be our forum featuring the City Council candidates for Ward 3 and 4. I'd also like to plug that the City Club of Eugene is currently recruiting board members. If you're interested in learning more about the City Club of Eugene Board of Directors, email us at cityclubofeugene@gmail.com. Thank you all and have a great week or weekend, and we'll see you next time.